That's on record.
Not you can.
Okay, righto, let's get started. As this is a workshop, obviously we won't be making any decisions today, so we won't be asking for support of certain applications or asking for figures to allocate to each project, but the intention of this is to go through all of the applications and see if anyone needs any further information to form a decision, and to discuss each application one by one. So we'll just go top to bottom, and if anyone has any questions that they would like to bring up, please do so. So the first application is the Buller Ladies Chair Yoga. And they are asking for $1,800 for a larger TV screen.
Just a matter of eligibility. They have provided 2 letters of support, but that was after the application closed. And I think it's going to come up further where I don't think that there's another application where they haven't provided letters of support. So just how we deal with them. They haven't provided all the applications they've been asked to, or if it's been provided outside the set time, how does everyone feel we should deal with that?
So I can speak up to.
Just your speaker, please, Rosalie.
Yeah, I can speak to the whatever one, the RSA one. Can't even find it. Oh, ANZAC number 9.
Yeah.
There hadn't been a meeting. He wasn't sure which group it was, and it was Dave Sanders that went off on his own and sorted it, and then realised that he should have asked, got involved with the groups, and the excuse was that some had resigned from the reserve committee where the memorial gates are, but since that the memorial group have agreed, and I think they did write a letter of support. So a letter of support should have come through somewhere. I think we did. Yeah, and that was the reasoning why.
I guess the thing is though, that application criteria is spelled out quite clearly, and there's a tick box to make sure that people have all of the information that they need to make an application. And so will we let someone put in an application that's not complete and we get the information later, or will we only consider
that's what I'm saying. That's why it was done,
yeah.
And to give people context, and he wrote a big story.
Yeah, I guess everyone else has met the deadline of when they have to have all the information and he hasn't. So are we going to accept it, or are we going to say, sorry, you don't meet the application criteria, try again next time? And
I'm normally one for deadlines, but this is a community fund, and not every community group is able or has the means to be as efficient as some others. And I think we still need to take them on their merits if we believe it's got merit, and we have got the information that we need prior to the meeting, then I still think we should consider them, in my opinion.
So have a case by case basis
Yes.
as to whether we'll accept them. Any other opinions?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. And they're also not massive applications either.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we did receive 2 letters of support when they were asked for the Buller Ladies Chair Yoga. Did anyone have any information about any questions about that specific project that they wanted answered or to discuss? No, great. Next one. Buller Wheelchair Bus Incorporated. And they're asking for $10,682. I was personally a little bit confused by this, as to why they had received COGS funding last year but weren't expecting any this year, and are asking Buller District for the whole amount required to run.
I know COG's funding has been considerably cut, or maybe they just missed the deadline. We could ask them prior to the meeting.
And just from council, have they applied to this fund before for this?
I can just have a jump into the files and just check that while
Is
you're discussing.
the question they asked if they've received BDC grant funding before, they said yes, COGS. So I think they've maybe not understood the question properly.
They have actually received it in years gone by, but not for the last few years.
Okay. Could you come back to us, Chrissy, just with when they received funding and how much they received? That would be helpful. Any other questions about that?
Yeah, when I looked at them, I just thought there wasn't any, it's quite a big amount. But there was no income sources, like they hadn't sought any other support from anyone else. You know, so I thought that's just something that I thought we could consider, you know, because some of them have, you can see some of the applications, they've sought quite a lot of other sources as well. So it's a contribution to rather than a payment of. Not that I still think it's a fantastic service. So.
And I think it is large numbers that they're talking about, so it's a large figure, but it is working with a large number of people.
March of 2022, $3,500.
March 2022, they received $3,500. Okay.
Sorry, what was it?
In March 2022. 3,500. Okay. And so we can't tell whether they've sought other funding for that, can we? They probably have, I would say. All right. Carter's Beach Reserve. Oh, what is RHS? What does that stand for? Reserve and Whole Subcommittee. Okay. Are requesting $14,491 to replace their chairs. Yes.
I think all of those three can go together, and again, as I just said before, they might all be eligible for reserves. So until we know that, or I don't know whether they're in the 25k radius or.
Yeah, but they said it's not for indoor spaces, only for open air spaces.
I just got told 5 minutes ago it is.
Yeah.
So,
Just through the chair, I have just got off the phone to Brent just to confirm that exact point, and he did say that it could be used for capital items indoor. We might just get, it might be that's something that we need to firm up in the policy, but that was the advice that I've just received from him.
Can I suggest we just clarify then that the three requests would be eligible out of the reserves before we actually have the meeting?
yes, definitely.
Grant?
Yeah, I think, because they've only recently been taking over the hall and they're doing a fantastic job of it. Yeah, so all of this sort of stuff has come on all of a sudden. It hadn't been done in the past. So that's why they're having to ask for these capital items now.
It does seem like we get a lot of applications from the Carter's Beach group, but they're completely entitled to put in an application, and it's a contestable fund, and if there's enough money to go around, then
And one thing I would say, it's probably, someone could answer this one, but I would imagine it's probably the most used hall in the district, numbers wise, I would imagine, the usage that it actually gets, so it obviously needs a lot more maintenance.
I see in the application they rented it out about 50 times
Yeah,
last
so
year, so that's once a week, really.
It's a big use
a lot of
item,
use.
I suppose.
Yeah, and at cheap rates for community groups, so.
So on that basis, they should be able to have some revenue to sort of help go towards it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose they don't charge a lot, like if someone has a wedding there, it's very affordable for someone in the community, so they could put their prices up, but then they risk people not using the hall when they want it to be used.
And they're not expensive chairs, they're a minimalistic
Mm.
touch.
I mean, I looked at them in total too, and it's 42 grand of the 80 grand, which is a significant amount of money, and I would have liked to have seen it some, if they are renting it out, they must have been earning some income, and it would have been nice to say, actually, we are going to contribute a little bit of this ourselves. Even if they had to work a bit harder, because asking another group for 42 grand is quite significant. Not that I'm saying it's not a great place, but it just seems a lot without some sort of elbow grease on their own behalf in terms of someone else.
Yeah, but then is what they're earning is that's going to the outside stuff and toilets and bits and pieces and that anyway. So just because they're not using it that, using it somewhere else. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their whole hire income from last year, that's $8,600. But then they do have expenses, obviously, and I guess that doesn't go too far.
I guess one of the things that could be a part of the discussion is maybe they need to increase their hall hire fees. If that hall is that great and it's going to have great facilities,
Yeah.
then maybe it's worth hiring out for more money
if they can
to be
justify
self-sustainable.
changing more by supplying all the chairs that are all matching, then potentially they could get away with it. Chrissy?
Just through the chair, any changes to any of our fees and charges need to go through a long-term or annual plan process, so we wouldn't be able to increase any fees until next year. And I believe they've updated them recently. And it is that balance as to making it affordable for people to use while also recovering the costs of all of the things. They also spend a lot of money on the grounds and keeping up the reserve. The hall's a very small part of the entire reserve that's used and has to be maintained.
And the subcommittee members do volunteer a lot of their time to do the gardening and caring for the facility. Grant?
Yeah, obviously some of the chairs are 50 years old and all that sort of thing, been around since day one. And also it's a civil defence area as well. So it is going to get a lot more use than, once this trail gets fully operational and everyone finds out about it, it'll get so much use, it's not funny. They did have, as Chrissy said, about the fees and charges with the wedding, and I think you pay for a 3-day, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, but you have to clean up, and it is quite cheap.
All right, any more questions? Can we move on? Great. The next one is the Citizens Advice Bureau, which is 13,358, which covers their rent of their office in the clock tower. And I believe we've funded this every year for quite some time, so it's sort of the same, nothing different. Someone tell me what page we're up to? Carter's Beach really overwhelmed this.
who do you want? Citizen advice.
Well, the next one, we can move on now. Ngangahua AMP Sports Show. Thank you. Okay, Ngangahua AMP Sports Association requesting $19.50 to cover the Roofton Sports Park hire for the annual AMP show.
Yeah, I think we've done it before.
Yeah.
It's a good community event, and I've also contributed quite a bit themselves into that.
Cool, next one. Kaitiaki Mokanui Charitable Trust requesting $900 for the caring and maintenance of Chasm Creek Walkway. Any comments, questions?
Again, we've done that before, but yeah, a number of years, and it's a small amount and they maintain it pretty well.
A huge number of uses.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Good bang for buck.
good thing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Katamia Anzac Community Coordinator. requesting 2.5 grand. Yeah, Joe?
I just, one is Rosalie brought up before about not having the letter of support, but when you read through that, the application, there was no evidence in the actual application that he'd sought feedback from anyone else. And I went back and asked for feedback from the community that they did support it, but it was on behalf of a group, but there's no evidence to say that that group had asked him to put in the application. So I just felt that I'm comfortable about the whole thing, and where's the validation that it's a worthy cause and that's something that the community is putting forward. So that was my question, and I asked to be clarified about whether it was an individual request or was it actually from a body. It was an individual, and some people know that individual, and it's the sort of thing that they do. And he went out there and got the prices, and it has been talked about for a long, long time. And as I said, it was brought up at the Reserve Board meeting or subcommittee meeting, and they agreed that it was something that was worthwhile and had been talked about, and they were writing a letter of support. So what lane was it on? It's on, it's at the Memorial Gates as you go into the domain right by the school. So in the application, it's got the drawings of where it would be. And it's something that it has been talked about for a long time. And I suppose you have to give the guy initiative, because we all talk about things and nobody gets off the starting blocks, and he certainly did.
So is there any sort of like veteran sort of group in Karamea that would want to okay them? Like, I
No,
mean, people that should be.
Well, the RSA group here in Westport is, while we call our hall where we meet an RSA, it's only by name only, no sort of association. But we do have our RSA or the Anzac Parade every year. And 3 years ago, those Dawson McNabb sorted out where those people had not been identified on our gates of remembrance, and that's just a small plaque, as you see there, to include them. So I think it's sort of a good, something that should have been done, and somebody got to do it rather than everybody talk about something that should have been done, and it's not a big cost.
No, I just wonder if there's any sort of benefit to the RSA Westport sending through some sort of letter of support to say that they are backing that, because we don't.
Yeah, in the application, I think they said they were prepared to possibly put 500, and he was going to get 500 from his boss. But
Subsequent letters will come through. Only the initial 2 that were sent out.
Who are they from again, sorry?
I don't think he got one from the RSA, but he's in, it's not the right word. Yeah, he's works closely with the return soldiers, something or other. Right, anyway. So he'd certainly get one pretty quickly if he'd asked.
Okay, I just wonder if there's any benefit if we could just flick someone there an email and just get them to say that they're happy with the project. I just wouldn't want to offend anyone or just keep it all above board. Is that something we're able to do, Chrissy? Sorry. Send an email to the RSA and get them to, I guess, support the project.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that, but again, it's just whether or not the table wants to consider that as a late support.
So we will do it.
I think we should. Yeah. Council could do that. Yeah, Mr. Dasher, sorry to waste.
No, I don't think if it's, you know, we remember the fallen every year, and if they're for those families of those 4 that have been omitted every year, I think it's I think for 2.5 grand, I think it's a bloody good thing for us to be doing for the community. You know, it's I know the process was a bit rough in this one, but if we think about what it's actually for, I think it has a bigger meaning than the actual process. So I think it's a well worth supporting.
Okay, cool. If everyone's relaxed, we'll just double check with RSA if they're in support of that and carry on. Karamea Historical Society. $3,000 for assistance with increased insurance costs and building and liability cover. Can I start by just getting some more information from Chrissy about LTP? What was applied for in LTP, what we allowed?
2 seconds, Carla, I'm just pulling up the other book. Unless you've got that to hand, Kate. then.
I've got that here, I can read it out. It's got the historic, this is from Chrissy. The Historical Society was granted funding through the long-term plan for general running costs, including insurance, wages, audit, electricity, EPOS costs, and maintaining and upgrading displays. The original long-term plan request was for $8,000, but they were only granted $5,000. Ultimately, this would be a call for council to make regarding or consider and approve any funding that had already been applied for. And I think just that when we talked about the museums report, we thought, well, this is so big a bucket, and we tried to make an even distribution around the district. So I guess it's up to the council whether they'll consider a further application or not, or maybe this would be just something to consider at the meeting whether.
I suppose for them, for a word for probably being too honest. Those only ones that have done it, they're saying that if they don't get it, they'll use their own funds, which sort of means that they've got the funds to use if they don't get it. Well, why put down use your own funds if you haven't got it?
Well,
So
I guess they have to pay for their insurance, don't they?
I've
And
got a
then-
conflict of interest, but I can say that, yeah, it's just something that, wages on, we just won't be able to open as much, or, we've got money for some displays that have come from lottery, and, that could sort of diminish things.
it says, sorry to repeat it again. It says, what is the effect of council does not support your application? It does not say we will have to cut back or do anything. It says we will use our own funds.
Exactly, and it means something else in myself. If you've got funds, but then you don't have surplus funds. I think we had the idea around the long-term plan was to take museums and information centre out of the contestable funds, so we actually gave them some stable funding. The intent wasn't then that they'd also come back to, unless they had a particular project or a big capital item, they weren't going to come back to council for grants, because we'd actually allocated them up front. So I guess that's
Right.
Yeah, because it says here, Caramare Historical Society owns funds $293, which doesn't add up to 3,000.
I think we're potentially getting into debate type conversation. So whether we want to support an additional amount to the long-term plan or not, I think is probably to each individual person. So I think we'll come back to that in the meeting. Is there any information anyone needs? Mr.
No, it's
Hatfield?
just, there are two applications around insurance too, so quite similar.
Mhm.
And I guess the only difference is that the Caramare Historical Society's had some long-term plan funding as well, where the Market Cross hasn't.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be quite a common request for funding out of the community grants. And I just wonder what what is that what the intent of the grants is, or?
Well, it's up to councillors, I guess.
Yeah, through the chair, the eligibility allows for it. But it's around the table as to what you'd like to provide that funding for. With this latest long-term plan that we've done, we have locked in those funding agreements, as Councillor Howard was saying, for the next 2 years. So they do have that stability, knowing what's coming in. And it was also to encourage people to apply for external funding as well, noting that we gave more funding in the long-term plan than we've done previously, and it obviously reduced the funding round that we've got available now. And this is the only singular funding round that we're doing for community grants this year. So again, whether or not the council wishes to look at those as for the second bite of the cherry, so to speak, it will be a decision at council meeting time.
Can I just clarify, as Market Cross Community Group, did they receive long-term plan funding already? Could we actually
before the meeting, just be summarised how much they actually got and what we allocated it towards?
Yeah, I'm happy to reshare the funding spreadsheet that we had before with councillors, so everyone can see how much they've got.
Thursday,
They did, but that was for operational. It was not a grant. And that was for the mowing of the lawns and for the farm. So it was not a council grant. It was an operational grant. And they've had that in the past, yeah.
So again, still, it's been added to our repairs and maintenance budget or our ongoing maintenance budgets anyway. And it's still been locked in for the next 2 years at least.
can we just take a wee bit step back to the Kawatiri riding for the disabled, because that's next on the sheet. Seeking $5,000 for paddock and wages for the year. Does anyone have any questions about that? Welcome, Linda. Happy with that? No questions?
Raise some funds themselves and, yeah, and it's a great service in town.
Agree. Alrighty. Okay, and then Market Cross, was there anything further to that? So we do give some long-term plan funding for operational maintenance, which is now in the maintenance budget. This request is for insurance for the premises, and is it right that it's a community-owned premise? It's not on council land, it's not council building, it's the communities, yeah.
That's right, and that's where the other one differs. It's for council running the toilet, running the power for the toilets, etc. Is where the other one comes. So they are sort of quite distinctly different. It was mentioned once that we put them both in together and then they got separated, and it was said that yeah, we do at least the two different applications.
So this is the RSA hall,
That's just what
that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
hall that has got the name of the RSA, but doesn't have anything to do with the RSA.
Okay. And
It's actually called Market Cross Community Group.
is it used for anything besides the Market Cross? Like they have the market there on the weekend?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it used for any other purpose?
Or just for meetings, etc. It's
Meeting,
the-
is it a civil defence?
a major meeting place, but if you look at the finances, yeah, it's sweet to nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but we charge same as everybody else.
Is it used as a civil defence facility?
Sorry?
Is it used as a civil defence facility as well?
It has done, but not really. The school's the main civil defence one.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Any questions on that application? No, move on. Northern Buller Museum are seeking $5,224 to purchase a kit set garden shed for use by gardening volunteers. Can I just have some information as to how much money they got from the long-term plan this year?
I think we've got to consider this quite separate because it's not a museum project. I think they're just umbrellaing a community project. So I think it's quite separate from museum as such. It's more, it's sort of like an umbrella for this project, but it's no way related to museum funding and the running of the museum. That's the way
Really?
I'd see it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree, because they've specifically said that it will impact 8,000 people, which I'm presuming it's people who visit the museum. So the two kind of go hand in hand, personally. Phil?
Can that be used, reserves contribution, capital?
There being any developments in Northern Buller?
It's privately owned.
No,
Don't they do a lot of the mowing all out there though? Like,
Now, because we gave them $5,000 out of that 20,000. So that museum alone gets 15,000 plus 5,000 for mowing. So they got 20,000 in the long-term plan. And they do have a lot of room around it. You know, a shed is a shed.
So sorry, Rosalie, I was just trying to check that myself as well. They got 20,000 from the long-term plan. Is that
That's
every
correct.
year?
Yeah, they got 20,000 in the long-term plan.
Yeah.
5,000 of that was for the lawn mowing. So in
Yeah.
actual fact, they got 15 for the museum and
Yeah.
5,000 for the mowing.
There's something there.
Tony, maybe, do you know a bit more about this program? Because I thought they ran in the community garden, so this is all quite separate from, this is not.
Sorry, can you put on the, just for the ones on screen? Sorry.
Apologies for me being a little bit late. So the community gardens traditionally haven't been done by the museum. So they actually, the community garden, the orchard, that was planted by the community quite some years ago, and that's been taken care of by Mike and some other lady. They're not linked to the museum. And there's also the little community garden with the right in the corner of the main road, and that hasn't been, that's not done by the museum either. So I don't really know unless they've got a new gardening group. I'm not too familiar with this gardening group that they've got now, but it could all be tied into the mowing, because that's a new initiative that they've actually picked up from the closing of the Northern Buller Community Society. So, but yeah, sorry, I can't really put you into much more information around
Okay.
that.
I mean, we've got the application, so
Yeah.
they've had the opportunity to provide the information they want us to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the same as every other group that's put on the application.
I was just gonna say, I can, if you just reference back to the LTP application, it talks about the mowing and the beautification. The application was for 38,020 and they got 20,000 back.
Okay.
So you can reference it, or I can send the original file that had all the documents if that helps.
Just on that mowing beautification, it used to be the Northern Buller Society that used to get 4,000. And now the museum have taken it over, so clearly they've taken that beautification over, and instead of getting 4,000, they got 5,000.
Okay. And in the scheme of things, it's still probably a heck of a lot cheaper than paying Westrick to go out there and mow it. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Rifton Operatic and Reparatory Society Inc. wanting $2,400 to commemorate the 80th anniversary. Right, and so there was a slight issue with this project in that it's already been or is going to be before the funding is allocated. And that's generally not, as one of the application criteria is that we're funding for future events, not past events. So in terms of the application rules, I guess it's not really eligible. It is council's decision whether they want to consider it, but I would say it's not within the.
I'd also say this is not eligible. I think this is bending the rules too far. There's no other outside funding firm I've ever gone to that's accepted a retrospective project. So I don't think we should be in the rule.
If there's any dispute, I'm going to recommend that this is excluded from the funding round, as it doesn't meet the application requirements.
I mean, the thing is that it's already happened, so it's already been paid for.
Okay,
So it's, yeah.
there's no dispute of that. Perfect. Chrissy?
Following one of the councillors' questions, we did go back to the group just to explain that they could still apply if they wanted to, but we didn't fund retrospectively. Again, ultimately the decision of council. The applicant did come back to say that they haven't, they didn't need to pay for the invoice beforehand. So there was that extra bit that they did give to us, but that if that's the recommendation.
Grant?
And also there's a fair bit of catering going on in there, and I didn't think we funded a lot of that either.
I think we can fund for catering, it's up to council, but I think, yeah, it's ineligible for this application. We'll move on. Rifton, how do you say that word? Sado? Karate? Sado Karate. $600 to support 2 karate events in Rifton. Can I just clarify, and Linda will probably know this, are there two martial art groups in Reefton? Because there's one that applies to the sports funding round, but I don't think that's the same group as this, is it? It's different. Is it-
My understanding, it's just the one.
Okay, I think I'm getting confused with
I
boxing.
think, yeah, there is boxing, yeah, sorry, so this is karate, yeah.
Okay, cool. Any questions about that application? No. And just for clarification, is there any part of that would fall under the rural sports fund, Chrissy? I didn't think so, because it's to,
We'll be able to clarify for the next meeting.
okay, if you
I
could
don't
get
think
back
so.
to us. It didn't read like there would be, but just to double check. Okay, Southern Cancer Society Trust seeking $5,000 to support the West Coast Cancer Society Centre. I do think they applied last time, and I think we said no, because there was no way of taking Westport people. They obviously do support a lot of people from Westport. Joe?
A service in Bulla, but this is for the actual centre of physical building, which would be in Greymouth. So I think we made it quite clear that it's for the Bulla district. So I'm not quite sure this is a bit of a crossover.
It does support Bulla.
Yeah.
It does support
So
Bulla.
I wouldn't have an issue with it at all.
Okay, I guess that's more in the
I
debate.
was
There's
a bit like
nothing,
Joe, and obviously cancer hits everyone, but not everyone, but, yeah, I just thought if we were looking for, it's a nationally funded organisation too. And, you know, is it our role to be propping up nationally funded organisations? Just thought.
did anyone have any questions about that? Because I think that kind of falls onto each person, that whether they support it or not.
Yeah, I think we're into debate really.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
that's
that's right.
happened on the
Yep.
day. It's not ineligible, so.
No, that's right. It's to each individual person to make their call on that one. Linda?
Just a question, if this West Coast one was, the physical building was in Westport, would that change it? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it because it's a West Coast one, or that supports across West Coast, or if it was a West Coast one but the building was in Westport rather than Greymouth, would that change things? Just a question.
Yeah, I guess us not giving the $5,000 doesn't mean they're going to withdraw from Westport and not support cancer patients and their families in Westport. So, yeah, I don't know. You roll the dice as to what the implication will have on that service. Colin was first.
Yeah, I seem to recall that same application last year sometime, and from memory it was declined. So we can find if we did decline it while we're looking at perhaps accepting it this time round. So perhaps we can have that paper or the application from the previous year brought forward, and also why we decided to decline it last time.
I think it just depends on the poll and what other applications there were.
I think Grant had his hand up first. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at the budget, that's got rent, and that's obviously Greymouth, power, that's obviously Greymouth, and council, that's obviously rates for Greymouth, so. I haven't got any, I'm saying this, it's Phil, I haven't got any problem with it, as long as they're looking after the Bulla people.
Tony?
Yeah, why isn't Greymouth Council propping this up more? You know, this is the question.
I imagine they've gone to all the councils and tried to get any funding they can,
Yeah.
and they also have a national pot of funding.
Yeah.
And they're never going to turn down money to run
Oh,
their
that's
service,
right.
are they?
Yeah.
It would be silly of them not to apply to every avenue
Yeah,
they
I
can.
suppose it's just a vote on the day.
Yeah, I think it's
Personally.
up to each individual person to have their own view on that. So the next one was the Waimangaroa Recreation Reserve Domain, seeking $5,000 for the Rhythm and Food Festival.
Unless I'm reading it right, I don't like they only need they only need 2,200, but they're asking for 5,000, so they must need a profit or something, make a profit out of it, so I'm not. Unless their figures are around the wrong way or something, I'm not sure be donating so they can make a $3,000 profit.
So they're saying that they're gonna make $7,623 in revenue. And they're gonna spend 5,420. No,
Total contributions is 5,400.
Oh, yeah. Is there the difference?
Yeah, they only need 2,200, but they're asking for 5 for some reason. Again, unless they've got their figures wrong, if that could be asked, or I don't know. But it is what it is.
I personally don't feel it's our job to check their maths. If they can't fill out the application form properly as to how much they need, I don't really think we should
You want to
be.
be a hard ass?
That's just my opinion.
No, that's fine.
Well, if you did the application form, those figures did jump all over the place. And when it came down to what you wanted and what you didn't want, that spreadsheet or that application form didn't work particularly well.
Are you talking about their application?
Well, when I did the application, so it may have been in their case too, that
Oh,
they put in the contribution and the amount left, it costs less contribution was there. And for some reason, that 5 jumped up, but I know I had difficulty there too. The
okay. So you're saying it could be
didn't do the figures.
okay. But if we're working off their figures of their income and their expenses, that's what they're requesting. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Basher?
Yeah. I was just going to say the same thing. I mean, they've actually got the right number here, but then I think, to be honest, they've probably thought, we'll put in for something and hopefully we'll get what we asked for. We'll put in for $5,000 and maybe we'll get 2,200.
Yeah, but for some reason, when I did it, that figure came.
So do we think they're actually requesting 2,198?
That's the gap, yes.
That's how much they,
No, I think
well, they're asking for
I
5,000.
think they're asking for the 5,000,
Yeah,
but
okay, but they only need 2,198.
supposedly.
Tony?
They also, sorry, yeah, they also have to pre-book bands and musicians up to $5,000 as well, which will make a huge difference if we haven't got money there. So I'm fairly sure that Julia did a homework on this. So, but if you did want, I can go back and clarify with her. So yeah, as far as I'm pretty, because it says here too, you know, we have to pre-hire the bands as well, which is quite an expense.
Yeah, but I mean, we can't really give $5,000 for them to pre-book and then them give us the balance once they've got ticket sales.
So I can go back and clarify this for you if everybody was willing to get the some clarity on it.
Kathy?
Can I just suggest that we do that just as the governance team, just to make sure that we're going back collectively just to be consistent across all the different.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, can you just clarify the amount they're requesting, maybe their income expenses and I mean, we can't give them $5,000 for them to book, It
is her first time she's ever done a funding application.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Oh, yeah, okay, I suppose so. But it's specifically saying total costs, 7.6, so, and contributions, so the figure does only come to 2.2, so unless their total cost is 9,600, then they're making a profit.
That's right.
But they can be up.
There was, originally when the application was posted online, they didn't actually have an amount asked for column. So they might have picked up the original one before it was amended, because we had to amend it so it had expenditure income and the amount requested.
Okay, so we'll get Chrissy to clarify for the meeting and then we can make our decision then. Great. Westport Men's Shed, $2,500 for general expenses. And I'm fairly certain we have funded this in the past. Any questions? Sweet. That's all right.
Lots of jobs lined up for them.
Yeah. So that's a wrap. If no one has any further questions, then we can pull that to an end.
And the ones online just for a bit, I got Simon coming